Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today, I would like to talk about heating in Portugal. In case you are new to the channel, I am Caroline. I moved together with my husband Misha and our two little children to the north of Portugal, to our quinta, just a year ago. We have been living in total more than 10 years in Portugal, near Lisbon. It is still winter in Portugal, even though right now we have a few warm days, but it can still be freezing until March. We just talked about it last year in March. The kids were enjoying their first snow here in Serra. So before we moved here to our small stone house, we had already two apartments in Portugal near Lisbon. And heating in Portugal is always a difficult matter. The climate is humid in winter. Depending on where you're living, you might not have good insulation. Houses are often not very modernized in terms of windows and isolation of the wall or the roofs. The first apartment that we bought in the south of Lisbon had luckily a sandwich roof, and we replaced all the windows. Throughout the time when we have been looking at properties, at houses, at apartments, oftentimes it was said, oh, we used all the most newest and best materials for this renovation. But when you were there during the process, we could see that there was, for example, no isolation between the wall and the outside wall. They just put this gyps carton and then no isolation in between. Windows are often aluminium. Even in some apartments where we have been living before we bought our apartment, it would be aluminium, the sliding ones. So when you have a lot of wind, they would be even moving. So that is something, well, when renting, you don't have a lot of choices, but when looking for buying a property or a house, keep that in mind. Most likely you will need to change the windows. We always opted for doing the major part of renovation ourselves, because the chances that something is renovated to our standard, don't come at me. I know in the last video about the off-grid living, people misunderstood that this is our perspective, my perspective. That doesn't mean there are not great construction workers in Portugal, but they are definitely hard to find. And in terms of how it is done, it might not match your standard, depending on where you are coming from. So even though the winters in Portugal are short, and you might be thinking, oh, it is not even that cold, there is no snow in the region where I want to go to, you might be still struggling because the house might be much more damp, the house might be much more cold, you might feel much more cold in general. That's something we noticed in the first years. So the ways of heating in Portugal: first, make sure good isolation. If not, also your costs will go through the roof for electricity, for wood, for oil, however you are choosing to heat your house. In our first house, was on top on the fourth floor. We actually did not have any heating installed. We had very good isolation. We made sure of that ourselves. And in winter, in the 2-3 months where it's really, really cold, we used a dehumidifier. That's key in Portugal to get a warm, dry house, and a radiator. In our second apartment, we installed air condition. that was a great way to keep the house warm, but it might be cost intense for you. And now in our house here in the countryside, we have 3 wood burning ovens. We have been going through winter, autumn, winter. It was raining, it was humid, so we chose to heat a lot. We have been going through all our wood that we collected this summer, and we just ordered a new load of wood for 250 euros. It is end of January, and we are running out of firewood that we collected last year from our own land. So we just ordered more wood to heat for the rest of this winter. So it is also not a cheap choice. And here it will be very important to know how big your house will be. First, we thought we have such a small house, such a small living room, but now it comes in quite handy because sometimes we only need to heat one of our ovens and we are fine for the day because we just stay in the living room or in the kitchen. We have one in the kitchen and one underneath that part of the house. So the chimney heats the bedrooms. These are the bedrooms. So that's really, really handy for us. The small living room with a wood burning oven. And when it's really cold, we just stay in that room. That is also something you might notice when you're looking into apartments or into buying a house in Portugal. The weird layout. We have been seeing apartments in Lisbon or in other cities where you have a strange inside room with no external window and just inside walls with no wall to the exterior. And now, after a few years having lived here in Portugal, it starts to make sense. It's the room that stays most cold in the summer, and it's the room that stays more warm in the winter. So people started using this method because of lack of heating possibilities. The whole family would gather in that room, maybe close to the kitchen where you're heating anyways, an oven or a fireplace to cook. You will also see this in old houses. There will be an open fireplace in the kitchen, and the kitchen might be the central room of the house because this is where you heat. Actually, that's what we are doing right now. We have a wood burning oven in the kitchen with a compartment on the top, and sometimes we will be like, oh, let's heat this oven at the weekend because we will make a roast to use that energy also for cooking. After having lived already in 3 different apartments and houses, actually more, but the ones that we owned and where we had influence in how to heat and how to isolate, we like it very much here. The heat of a wood burning oven is really, really nice temperature. It dries the house and it becomes really, really warm. trying to do this with an oil radiator might be challenging to like have this nice warm house as you have with the fireplace. Furthermore, we will raise our wood consumption this year even higher because we just got our sauna, and the sauna is also heated with wood, and a hot tub that is also heated with wood. Subscribe to our channel, click the little notification bell to see how the sauna arrived in our land. I will cut the video for next week. This summer we will really need to make sure to collect all the wood around here to chop some trees around here. There it is also very important for you to see which wood you are going to burn. We see a massive difference between the different woods that we have here. Pine, the invasive mimosa, they burn very fast, but they also heat very, very well. They heat very, very hot, but we need to put a new slice of wood every half an hour. Mm, the reason why you might not find apartments or houses with a very good heating installed or even central heating installed might be numerous. I think mostly it's the climate. The months that you really, really need it are short, although intense. But Portuguese people tend to wear more, put more clothes on, go to the bar down the road. Life still happens more outside than inside of the house. You rarely receive invitations to somebody's home, so the need to really make it cozy and warm might not be the same as in the cultures where we are coming from. Then the cost of heating is just high, and the income in Portugal is comparably low. So no matter for which method we are opting, it will be still expensive. Either it is electricity, or like with the oil radiator, or air condition, or with wood, which is still expensive to get and labor intense. You need to chop the wood, you need to put the fire. That might not be convenient for everybody. So people tend to save that money, struggle a little bit for a few months, and really keep heating to a minimum, or even have inside rooms that are warmer, or our house has very, very small windows. So all this comes in handy when you're thinking about heating, actually. So this down here is the fireplace and the chimney that are heating our bedrooms. We will be spending all our afternoons here in our sauna. This will be super warm. We both love it so much. It's a big luxury item here. Or let me show you the hot tub. There she is, also heated with a wood burning oven. So here on the farm we heat 100% with wood. We need to see by the end of the year. I don't have the cubic or how much wood we used so far. And it's also more like an estimate because it depends so much on which firewood you are using. So to summarize this, in case you are watching my video because you are interested in buying a house in Portugal or you're looking for recommendations in that matter. So I would say everything comes down to location, location, location. If your house is exposed to the sun, like our first apartment was on the top floor, fourth floor, and you have a good isolated roof, that might already be half your your good, you know? You're you're basically needing less heating than a house that is completely shaded or never dries off really when it's raining. So that's also what we enjoy here. This part of the house is always exposed to sun and therefore dries off very well, heats quickly. Um, Even though you might notice in Portugal that often after some rainy days you step outside and it's actually feeling much more warm outside than it is inside. Um, like the humidity almost feels like going into your bones. You never really feel warm. There were times back in Lisbon that I would ask Misha to go to the sauna in winter at the weekend because we would never really warm up. We would never really feel comfortable. Second, isolation. If you are the owner of an apartment, if you are buying an apartment, um, if you have it in your own hands, isolate well, better make this investment, have new windows already calculated for your budget. If you're renting, very hard to do. Third, when you are buying a house, an installed air condition might be a nice plus, but think about the electrical costs. But it might be still better than any oil radiator or anything because it's much more efficient than newer ACs. And our biggest favorite, but this might change when we're getting older and we don't want to make this physical labor anymore, wood. Burning wood. We don't have a pellet oven. Some people opt for pellets, but we have 3 hectares of forest, so we prefer to burn just wood. But a pellet oven could be also interesting. But we love the heat of burning wood. It's dry, it's comfortable. It's the first year that I feel really, really cozy at home, I must say. One question that comes to mind with that is winter in Portugal harder than elsewhere? And obviously, that's a very personal experience. But for us, the first years, I must say, yes, probably. Probably it feels harder, the winter in Portugal, even though it is warmer. And that is because, to a lot of reasons, the climate is very humid, the houses are often not isolated, and so you come home even from work and you constantly feel that there is humidity until your bones. That's how I used to describe it in the first years. Um, the the houses are just not warm. You go to somebody's house and people will be in their sweaters, pullovers. It is not common to heat very well. Maybe occasionally for family gatherings, but even family gatherings, people will more likely meet in a restaurant with their family and friends and not at home. So heating your home is not a very common thing. So I have been going through the first years and winters in Portugal, looking for saunas in Lisbon where we could go to. It was also hard if you were not a hotel guest. Often they would not allow you to use the sauna just to warm up at the weekend. Um, and now we have that ourselves. I feel like after 10 years, this is the first winter where I felt super cozy. Our Christmas was so cozy. We had the big fireplace heated up. We are sitting in front of the fireplace and just playing and snuggling. And it's the first time in a lot of years that I felt really, really cozy. But that, of course, is a very personal choice. On the other hand, in Portugal, as soon as it's dry, as soon as it's not raining, you can go outside and usually it's warm. I am not in a seriously warm sweater and it's warm enough outside. But to sit inside to do work on a computer, it would not be warm enough. You would be feeling a bit woof. So yeah, that might be the reason why people are complaining about the winter in Portugal.
Thanks for watching, and if you have enjoyed our content, then we will be very happy to receive your follow, you subscribe, leave us a question, leave us whatever you would like to know about Portugal, and we might want to make a video about it. See you next week. Bye bye.